Hey guys, in this video we're gonna go over decorators in Python. But before I begin, please sub to the channel and please like and comment on this video. I would greatly appreciate that. Alright, let's get started. So we're gonna go over inner functions first, then I'll do an example of how decorators work, alright, so that you understand and you can use it in your next project. Alright, so what are inner functions? Well, an inner function is a function that goes inside a function, right? So JavaScript and Python are two programming languages that support the inner function capability, whereas Java and other similar languages do not. So let me show you how it works. So what you can do, I can have a def test method. All right, and then inside that method, I can have a def test underscore one. And then we'll just do print test one. And then we'll do a return. And then we will also, and then we'll just invoke it, right? So test underscore one. And let's see, right? Because if it doesn't allow inner functions, it'll be a syntax error. So let's do this. Oh, let me invoke test. All right, so test one. So it actually ran this method and executed it, right? So what would this, like, how would this be in use, right? Well, this is great for like encapsulation, right? If you want to have a method that's only native to another method, then, use it, right? And there's also a lot of other cases, right? We go on about that. But just in general, it's a good thing to know, right? And in fact, if you could pull this off in an interview and use it well, then the recruiters will be really impressed. All right? So that's that. Now let's do an example, right? So I'll comment this out just so you can still see it. Okay, so let's say, right, that I develop a division function. So def div a comma b, right? And then all I do is I return a divided by b, right? Okay, well, what's the error problem here? Is that I'm not checking if b equals 0, right? If b equals 0, then I'm gonna get an exception, right? So the way to, think about this is, I should have if statements, right? Now, what you could do, right, you could say if b equals 0, then print, div, or you could do like a try catch, right? But instead, right, what we'll do is we can use a decorator, right? And a decorator, what it is it takes a function as an input. A decorator function takes a function as input, and then you can actually define an inner function that will perform those kind of checks for you. So I know there's a bunch of word soup right there. So then I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. So let's say I have a check method, and inside it takes a function, right? So then what I can do is I can have an inner function called def div modified, and then I have a comma b here, and then I can do the same thing if b equals 0, print you cannot divide by 0. And then I'll just return. In the other case, I will just return, right? Let's say b is not 0, then we can just return the func, right? A comma b. Because I'm eventually going to pass the division as func. So the idea behind this is that I'm going to check first if b is 0. And then if not, then I can just run the function ab. So I can just do my division normally, right? And in the end here, I'm just going to invoke div modified. Okay, awesome. So now this is pretty much good. So then what I can do is I can say div equals check div, right? So what I'm doing here, I know it's a lot to take in, but I have a function check that takes a function, right? And voila, I have a function div. So I can pass the div function in a check, right? And to illustrate the flow once again, what's going to happen is I'm going to have this inner function, right? And then the line 19 will say, okay, run div modified, right? And the parameters will be passed in. You don't need to worry about that. Okay, and if b equals 0, then I'm going to print an error. And if it's not, then I'll just execute the function normally with a comma b. All right, so let's just see what it is. So let's say I do print, or since there's a print here, I don't need to do that. So I can say div of 10 comma 0, right? So let's see what happens. Okay, so I actually get the error. So everything's working as expected. So again, what happens is I pass the check, I invoke the check method with div function as parameter. And then I have this inner function here that's not doing anything yet. All I'm going to do is I'm going to invoke it, right? Div modified, and then the inner function executes. And then line 15 runs. If b equals 0, which it does, right? We got b is 0 here. Then print error, you cannot divide by 0, right? So there we go. Okay, and that's that. So now comes, so now if you've seen this and you've coded along with me, you would be like, wait, this is not good, something good to do. You're overriding a method with a, new method, right? That's not a good thing to do, Adnan. So exactly, and that is the point I hope you caught. So what you can do is you can completely erase this, and we can use the at symbol and say check, and guess what? The same thing will happen. So run. All right, and then let's do div. Let's do print. Let's give it a normal case now. Print 10 divided by like 3. So run that. All right, and it works, right? 3.33333. And this is something that happens in Python a lot, is that it does round up the value at the end. So do not get tripped up by this. This is just the floating point precision. Okay, so that is exactly what decorators are in Python. Okay, so that's honestly it. So just to wrap this up, we're going to add a couple more conditions. Let's say that you want the number to always be greater than or equal to 1, right? So you always want, even if you say something like 3 comma 10, what you mean to say is 10 divided by 3. So the A and B order should be proper. So we can add another if statement, right? That says if A is less than B, then A comma B equals B comma A. This is how you swap variables in Python. Okay, so what this is saying is assign A to B and assign B to A. So if I run this, same thing, I get 3.333 because it swapped it and then it returned the function. Okay, so this is definitely a new concept. Don't worry if you weren't able to wrap your head around it. It is something kind of new. And when we learn Flask, which will be a later video in the channel, you're gonna see this decorator symbol a lot. So definitely be familiar. Like, you've seen this video or you've seen other videos, or even when I say decorator, you know the concept behind it. All right, so I'm gonna end it here. I got many more videos to come. I can't wait to see you then. All right, bye.